All right, we're back. I'll be taking a look at this in a moment, but you can take a sec. I just have something I was doing before I noticed this was going up. Um, so, bear with me for a moment. But this is Delial versus Addy chat tournament. Let's say 64 ish. The finals. Delial just beat Akiyama in the semis. And let's say Tezuka in the quarters, while Addy has defeated Vid in a really fun match. I really enjoyed that one. And Dalamar in the semis. I didn't catch any of the semis. Sorry, I'm not really here yet. Great intro. What a video. Everything runs so slow when I'm have recording open, so it's hard to finish other stuff. I should cut this bit. You don't care. It's just a minute of your life. You have at least 7 more of those. You can waste a minute hearing me, or whatever's happening right now. I think that's done. Let's. Nope, that's not the window I wanted. Alright. Delia's first turn. What are the rules? No plus wall. Not incredibly relevant on level 2, but you could certainly imagine it hitting. 3622, for instance, is not going to be hitting that 6 to the left in Deli's hand, nor is, I don't know, 2172 going to be plus walling that 4353's 4. We're safe from these huge possibilities. Or 6331 plus walling 3171's downward 7 or 2172's. Okay. Now, Deli's hand seems very reliant on its 6 to the left, on specifically 1446. Most other things in the hand can sort of be done. If we make a super card of both players' hands, Addy's has a 7 facing up, backed up by a 5, 2 sevens to the right, a 7 facing down, backed up by a 3, but that means like Deli's 4 facing up is very relevant, and a 5 facing left, backed up by a 2. So Addy looking weak. Obviously, this is not his fault. Left and down. Deli, on the other hand, has a 6 facing up, backed up by a 4 and then some 3s. That generally beats Addy's down, though not the 7. He has a 6 facing to the right, followed by a 4 and some 3s. That very clearly beats Addy's left. So Deli's going to be good going right and up. Deli going down has a 7-5-4-2. Addy going up has a 7-5, slightly weaker. So Deli is winning or even in every direction so far. And to the left, Deli has 6-3-2 and some 1s, while to the right, Addy has 2 7s and a 3. So Addy's hand is pretty clumsy, but it really wants to be going right. Deli would prefer the game being headed. Well, Addy has a problem going down left. It's especially going left, and Addy really wants the game going right. So I would expect, incorrectly, Deli to try to do something with that. But this also means that if we play on the right, all of Addy's cards are going to be vulnerable to Deli. This seems fine. I think this is going to be a tough game for Addy. I don't like his hand at all. I think it's really clumsy. There's a certain type of player that would instant play 1-7, 1-2, and 4 here. Well, that's not so ridiculous. Yeah, I might even be that player. Probably not, though. What else is there? It's really hard to play an adjacent corner because you just can't take back your own cards. So anything in 7, you just have so much trouble recapturing from 8 that it would have to be like 5-2-3-5, and then you're over reliant on 2-1-7-2. You don't have enough captures going down. So you're never playing 7. You could play 3 just so your cards can hit stuff and it goes to the right, but it seems really clumsy because you're never going to have anything sticking out that's not just free captures for Deli. So I think 3 is tough. Yeah, it's just going to be really unpleasant for Addy. I do not envy him this spot. I don't know what I would do. Do you have any combo potential if you play like 2-1-7, 2 and 6, or can you argue Deli's captures are bad? I only say that because I noticed that 3-6-2-2 is and 8 is comboed by 7-3-2-1. I don't think you have coverage of like anything else. I guess 3-1-7-1 can't capture anyway. You do have coverage of 1-4-4-6, so actually Deli's only recapture there is 4-3-5-3 and 8. So if you had anything there, you would actually play here. Doesn't seem like you do though. Trying to be a tad creative, but not getting there. Yeah, I don't think there's anything there. Okay. The closest I can find is something like 5-2-3-5 and 4 as a follow up, setting up the combo in 5, but you don't have. Doesn't seem good. I think you're left with both of your 7 to the right cards very quickly, and then you're just very unhappy. Or like 7-3-2-1 if the top row is all that's being played and it's just horrendous. No, 1-7-1-2-and-4 might be the only kind of logical move, or at least if there's others, I'm just missing them. Okay, Deli's only recapture in 6 is 3-1-7-1. Could you play against that? For instance, if you played 5-2-3-5 and 8, if Deli goes 3-1-7-1 and 6, you have 3-7-3-2 for 5, and you're probably doing quite well there. For instance, you cover 3-6-2-2 and 7. So maybe 5-2-3-5 and 8 is worth considering. If Deli plays 3-6-2-2 and 7, then sadly you don't have 2-1-7-2 in 4 because 1-4-4-6 is the plus in 5. And you can't combo back because you've used 5-2-3-5. But even there, you might be okay. You might be able to walk into that and then play a 3-7-3-2 and 1, recapturing and just playing safe. This is probably okay. Okay, I think 5-2-3-5 and 8 is okay, and I think 1-7-1-2 and 4 is okay. Those are the two moves that strike me as this should be okay. And by okay, I mean we're groveling for a tie. Is maybe not what most people mean by okay, or what we'd mean by okay in most circumstances, even. But coming into this with, I don't like this hand, and I don't know how I want to beat this starter. Okay, he goes in 5. This gives him combo potential in 6. I would like to stress this combo potential is worth almost 0. The only thing a combo through 5 or through 9 could possibly flip is exactly 3-1-7-1 or 2-1-7-2-and-4. If those cards do not end up there, there is no ability for there to be any future comboing off either of this. Thus, I would suggest the combo in 6 is not meaningful, but it is nice to be able to have double captures in 6 and to be able to use cards like 7-3-2-1 or 3-7-3-2. Addy also found a way to get one of his worst cards out of his hand. So my initial instinct is, I'm not sure this move is better or worse than the moves I've said, but I am comfortable with it. My instinct for Deli is 4-3-5-3-and-4, just because Addy has a lot of trouble touching it. But you're reliant on multiple cards to combo back. Maybe not such a good instinct. I also always really like building out from my starter. So I'm just checking if there's a decent way to do that. I don't see a great way to do that. Yeah, my instinct's 4, but maybe that's wrong. But I think we actually want, even though our one problem at the start, or our one weakness from Deli's perspective, was Addy is better to the right than we are left, I think it's still possible we'd prefer a side to side game to an up down game. And using one of our up down cards in 4 could be logical, just because those 7s are so difficult to deal with. Another thing you can maybe do is 3-1-7-1-and-3. With the point that like 6 is kind of inherently desirable, but now if they go in 6, you have 1, 4, 4, 6, and 2, and that combos through 5 to flip 6, and you might be able to set up some combos back, but there's no immediate combos back. Like you could set up, for instance, 3, 7, 3, 2, and 7, which sets up 5, 2, 3, 5, and 4, and 7, 3, 2, 1, and 8. But that requires you to still have those in your hand, and yeah, might be there, might not. So I think 3, 1, 7, 1, and 3 is kind of interesting. Not sure it's good. I've just been trying to look for moves like that more when I notice that a square is bad for me and has high numbers facing towards it. Sometimes you just want to get rid of it immediately, so just occupy it. But another way to try to get rid of it is to surround it, sort of forcing your opponent to go there, or if they don't, it is now a valuable enough square you might be able to use it as well. So 3, 1, 7, 1, and 3 seems interesting. 4, 3, 5, 3, and 4 is my first instinct. 4, 3, 5, 3, and 1 says that 1, 4, 4, 6 is really nice. And I don't think uses up cards you're necessarily going to need. It does set up 5, 2, 3, 5 pretty well as well. Which is the type of move I am fairly hesitant to make. I'm going to be gone for a sec, but I'm going to guess Deli will go, or I have no idea what Deli will do. I think these positions with a card in a corner and a card in 5 are some of the vaguest positions, meaning there is the largest range for stylistic difference. And both Deli and I like to build out from our corner starters. We both like moves in 6 and 8. Deli won a game earlier today in the quarterfinals of this very tournament with the exact same position of cards in 9 and 5, and he played in 6 and got a win against Tezuka in a really complex game that would have been fun if I'd gotten the video of. Maybe that was yesterday, whenever it happened. I only saw the game had happened today. And Deli does a good job, I think, of finding his spots to build out, and I think building out from your starter is a really useful tool to have in the kit. But Deli's got the full range here. He can play, the slash with a move in 1. He can play J's in 2 and 4. He can play to isolate a square in 3 or 7 and go for the combo potential. He can build out in 6 or 8. There's 4 types of moves. He has all of them in his range. I generally have 3 of them in my range, but I'm trying to add 3 and 7. Okay, he goes for the build out. He might build out even more than I do these days. That's interesting. So I tend to see building out as I'm getting at least a tie. And normally when I go for it, I'm kind of saying, I cannot lose if I make this move, because it's pretty easy to calculate. You basically just calculate in a circle. They go 8, I go 7, or I go 3. If I go 7, they go 4, etc. And you just kind of go around, and usually that calculation is actually really accurate to how these work. You have to check a few other lines, but not that many. So you can do these narrow calculations and just figure, get the whole game calculated and be like, I'm fine here. But you kind of have to grab safety at some point, and Deli doesn't have much safety here. Also, if 5, 2, 3, 5, and 8, Deli can't really play 3, 6, 2, 2, and 7 because he's comboed in 4. So if Addy goes 8, Deli is presumably planning to go in 3, but anything in 3 can be taken, and Addy will have these 7-ups and 7s down that are never going to be taken if he doesn't want them to be. So I think when I like these moves, it is very much I do this, I can't lose the game, and you have to be very careful. This seems to me a position where Addy does not have to be all that careful and Deli has to be careful, which suggests that Addy's move in 5 was quite good. And I also didn't find amazing or anything too inspiring as a reply. So I was thinking 4 or 8, and those may have been good as well, but it does look like Addy's move was a really good neutralizer here. And given that 40 moves are possible and a lot looked pretty unappealing, I think Addy's been playing very well of recent. He did lose an open game in TTAC to Yevon, but he did double win the close to advance. And I really liked how he played versus Vid in the first round of this tournament. He's playing just a lot of moves that were the moves I'd play. And, I'm always going to think those are good moves. because we all think the moves we see are good. So I really like how Addy's been playing recently. Um, and I'm yeah, I think this move in 5 seems to have worked well. You can very much see that Deli really does not like his opponents having good squares he doesn't have. And so while I think of this kind of move as building out, Deli may have made this move as a get rid of the square move. I think if you were going to do that, 3 was the better way to do it. My instinct, at least, is 3-1-7-1-3. I said I was going to disappear a minute ago. I'm going to disappear for a sec now. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. Let's see what we got. We got 8. Yeah. So Deli has picked up. Ooh, what's the other card in his hand? I don't remember. 4-3-5-3. Interesting. It goes in 1. All right, let's calculate this out. Let's do a proper calculation. Let's start with 7 because that's plausible and just go through all the combinations. Remember, no plus wall. Okay, 7, 3, 2, 1, and 7. And okay, so Deli saw the idea in 1, but he wanted to play it a turn later. That's interesting because I had considered this the prior turn, but not really brought it to this turn, though, of course, I had no time to think about this position. Okay, so 7, 3, 2, 1, and 7. If Deli goes 3, 6, 2, 2, and 5, he flips 1 card. The score is currently 6-4 Addy. He would make it 5-5. That is also true if he played 1-4-4-6 there. Either way, Addy could play 3-7, 3-2, and 3. He would recapture 5, and he would win. So Deli cannot go in 4. If Deli goes in 2, he will necessarily flip 5, making it 5-5. Addy can play in 4 with 3-7-3-2. He will flip 5. He will win. Any potential of a combo through into combo? No. Okay. So Deli must be planning to play in 3. With presumably 3-6-2-2, keeping 1-4-4-6 available to combo back as necessary. The position there is 6-4, but Addy can go up 7-3. He can play, say, 3-7-3-2 and 2, goes up 7-3, 1-4-4-6, only flips back 1 card. You know, that combos through, but 6 never flipped. So am I being an idiot? Or is 7-3-2-1 and 7 a win? 7-3-2-1-7. Anything 4 does not flip 7, makes it 5-5. 2 wins. Yep. Anything 2 is silly, loses to 4. Yeah, 3-6-2-2 and 3 seems like the critical move. But then 3-7-3-2-2 makes it 7-3, and 1-4-4-6 and 4 only flips back the 1 card. All right, so I think this is Addy's win, which means either 1 was incorrect or 6 was incorrect, because Deli can't have been losing after Addy's move in 5. My guess is 1 is incorrect. Yeah, Addy plays it, and I think he's done it. So what's the rule set? Level 2. Incidentally, really well played by Addy throughout this event. I know I was saying that earlier, but I think he did a fantastic job throughout and played some quite difficult positions. Like obviously, Delial was the best player in the event, but I think Delial played really well in the previous rounds. But I think you look at just the games played here, not so weird that Addy won it. I think Addy played, again, assuming I'm not completely mistaken here, Addy played as well, at least as well as anyone else, and very much deserved this. So I think 4-3-5-3 and 1 before 6 is probably the better move order. I don't have some kind of description of that, but 8 was just such a useful move for Addy to get. My other guess, and I haven't really done calculation, but that Delhi could have stuck something in 3. Like that maybe you can sequence it instead of going in 1, that you go like 1 4 4 6 and 3. If they take with 3 7 3 2, you're down 7 3, but you can then play 4 3 5 3 and 1. You're down 6 4, and 3 6 2 2 is guaranteed, I think, sufficient captures. Now maybe after you go 3, Addy can take safety in 7 with the 7 3 2 3. Maybe this is just a problem. But then Delhi can play, I think, 3 6 2 2 and 2, and 4 3 5 3 is sufficient up down sweeper to hold. My guess. So I think Delhi could have played 3. I'm not sure. It's hard to look back. I'll start bringing up the solver. Why not? Just compare some moves. Also, I'm curious if Addy's move in 5 was just the best move in the position. Because he did a really nice job. Again, unless I'm being a complete moron, he has won this game, and so I think he did a really nice job, because you see this you don't see this super often, where I think someone has the clearly worse hand and is able to turn it around like this. So really nicely done by Addy. Again, unless I'm completely missing everything, which is known to happen. Okay, put in the hands. Did I put in the rules? The rules won't open. Weird. What's happening? All right, my computer is just refusing to open a file. It's very strange. Don't know what's going on. Are there windows I can close? Am I running too much? This can be closed. Is it open and I can't see it? That can be minimized. This can be closed. Right, we'll reload the game. We do get a win for Addy. Looks like... Alright, well, we can figure out what the cards were as they were played. Delhi's last move must have been 3 6 2 2 in 4, which presumably means he played 1 4 4 6 and 3. Addy played 3 7 2 3 and 2. Delhi played 3 6 2 2 and 4, and 2 1 7 2 remains. But why won't this open? There you go. Okay, it was corrected all along. All right, that was very strange. Okay, let's flip over to the solver, just out of curiosity. Yeah, nice win for Addy. Deserved win at the tournament. Okay, so Delhi plays starter in 9, which I think was good. And yeah, it's going to start running that. And Addy plays in 5. I had considered 8 and 4 as possible alternatives. Let's run 5 first. Now here, I think Delhi has a few choices. He went in 6. I bet this is not losing. My guess is this doesn't lose. If you see anything popping up saying some card wins, then it's losing. But I don't think this was the losing mistake. It was not. Okay. And 19 moves lose in response to it, maybe meaning it has more punch than I thought. I considered this earlier. Ooh, I just saw a win somewhere. Okay. So 4 3 5 3 and 1 immediately lost. To just taking the same. It does feel like it should be okay for Delhi, but yeah, 7 3 2 1. You just all your remaining cards land safely. If I block here, you just Okay, cool. So that lost. That was a bad idea. I also considered 4 3 5 3 and 4. It just felt like a natural square to put it. Now, you'll notice this gives up fewer ties, but that doesn't actually mean it's a worse move, because some stuff of which squares tend to be relevant. And the other one I considered was 3, 1, 7, 1, and 3, which looks alright. Not super inspiring. So this thinks Deli's move is better than all the moves I considered, for what that's worth. It also seems to think perhaps that there was a win here for Deli. Am I reading that wrong? No, that's just there was a win against one of my moves. Okay. Yeah. Alright. So I don't think there was a win here. Why am I having to run this again? I don't. Okay. So Deli goes in 6, which is, I think, better than I gave it credit for, but this move is dangerous for him. And he has 1 tie, and my prediction is it's 1, 4, 4, 6, and 3. Yeah, it is. Yeah. My idea was if here we can play here, and 3, 6, 2, 2 works as sweeper. And if here we can play here, and 4, 3, 5, 3 works as sweeper. So it seems his move in 6 was better than I gave it credit for, and after this, I think Addy is winning, and he found the win. Yeah. So I was drawn to 4-3-5-3 as well, and Deli ended up waiting a turn before playing it, setting up a combo chain for it. I was playing it when there was nothing extra to hit, but he was giving this target in 6 weak to 5 before setting up the potential combos, which very much has its logic to it, but it turns out both ways losing. It's kind of interesting. The 4-3-5-3 here is just not a good move. Interesting position. Was there anything else I wanted to check here? I think there was a few things. I think it's still running. You can tell what move it's doing by how many moves it says, or by adding up these numbers. So like this is always move 8, because there's 4 possible moves on move 8. And anything that adds up to 15 is with 5 moves left, because you have 3 square cards for 5 squares, so 15 possible moves. And all the ones adding up to 24 are with 6 moves left, and adding up to 28 is with 7 moves left, so the position we see on the board. And it's still calculating a little earlier. Oops. I wanted to compare the 7 moves left. So there, after Addy's move, Deli had 7 ties, which is way more dangerous than I thought it was. So I think Addy's move was, and maybe his hand in general, just the 7 up, 7 down on a no plus wall rule set, I think ended up being more powerful than I gave it credit for. Either because Addy played it really well, or because I just underestimated the hand and how useful it was to have 7s in 3 directions. I am by no means a great hand evaluator on SPC. Yeah, so it looks like Addy's move was way more pressure than this idea in 4, which I'm glad to see because I hate defensive sides. But I do think this was interesting, and we could see how powerful it was as the game happened. Because, all right, so it thinks after Deli's starting move, there were 33 ties, 7 losses. That is a below average pressure starting move, which again doesn't mean Deli did anything wrong. It means I misevaluated how dangerous the position was at the start. I really thought Deli had the better hand, and I might just be mistaken. Yeah. So it thinks Addy's move was more pressure than any of these. This move gives 10 ties. Addy's move gave only 7. It's interesting. A 5 move with essentially no combo potential through it that is just setting up to have a pleasant capture in 6. But I think it made the 7s play so well in Addy's hand. I think he did something really cool here, where because he has 7s in 3 of the 4 directions, and his 5 in the other direction is really useful as well, he just ended up being able to build walls of safety in so many lines. 7-3-2-1 landing in 6 is really powerful. It makes a lot of sense that Deli had to stop that, because it can lock in cards and be safe. And that's a really important combination. So it makes some sense that Deli's move is actually, according to Solver win tie loss score, is the best move we considered and better than any of the moves I looked at. Because he just really didn't want Addy to have that good play in 6. But we can see that card later landed safely in 7. Yeah, I think one thing that really happened here, for me at least, not necessarily for the players, is I just underestimated the value of having lots of 7s ready to play. And what Addy's move did, what I wanted to do was either build out like a defensive wall or just attack something, because I love attacking things, and if you give me the opportunity, I'll attack things. Um, I think this was the move I wanted to do. Did I want to take it a different way? I knew I wanted to take it. Yeah, this was the way I wanted to take it because we have this. Um, but what Addy's move did was it said, you have a really tough time doing anything without giving me lots of safety. And there's sort of this way that SPC, the side squares become so much more important because it's so much easier to have safety facing out from them. Corners in general interact with other cards more, and sides interact with walls more. Meaning, when someone plays a side and you're trying. That was exactly wrongly said. When someone plays a corner, your ways to interact with it are often through cards either diagonal or across from it. When someone plays a side, most of your interactions with it, when you play like the corner next to it, are using walls. Rarely is there like a side and then another side is occupied but the corner is empty and that's the interaction, except on specific types of early setups. So as walls go away, sides gain a lot in kind of value and impact. And having these 7s facing in the different directions just meant there were so many more uses for the sides, and Addy specifically creates a use for himself in 6 for that 7-3-2-1. And that ends up sort of shaping the game. Yeah, really interesting game by Addy. I don't think enough about low level SPC, and I clearly didn't have a grasp for it. It does look like from the I'd have to run more stuff to get a better check, but it does look like from the solver stuff that I just completely was wrong about who had the better hand here. That doesn't mean Addy had the better hand. I'm not sold on that. Second turn tends to favor SPC tends to favor second turn, so there's an advantage there. But I'm not convinced the hand is better, but I no longer think it's clearly worse. And I really think Addy handled this very, very nicely. Yeah, well won tournament. Congrats to Addy. We will end our video here.